Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to another episode of Meet the Presenters. I'm Andrew Arbuthnot, and today I am delighted to be joined by Mathew Robinson. Mathew is a hypnotist, a motivational speaker, and a coach, and many of you will know who he is, but for those who don't, I'd just like to ask Mathew to introduce himself.
Hello there, guys. I'm Mathew Robinson, combat hypnosis and founder of Boxnosis, UK's leading mindset and motivational coaching program for boxers, coaches, and hypnotists.
Cool. Thank you for joining us. So tell us a little bit about yourself, if you would. I'm sure many people know who you are, but tell us what made you get into hypnosis or what made you get into this type of industry?
It started with a personal tragedy in my life, and I was flicking through the newspaper one day. I wanted to change my life, and around that time, sort of 2007 ish, I read a book by Paul McKenna, which you probably heard of, called "Change Your Life in 7 Days."
Yeah, yeah.
I read the book, had a CD, came with it, listened to the CD every single day. And then, I don't know how long ago after it was, but I was flipping through the EDP, which is a newspaper where I live, Eastern Daily Press, and I came across this picture of a butterfly and said, "Do you want to change your life?" And I thought, wow, divine intervention. That's obviously before I found out about the reticular activating system. And I phoned the number, and it was a course, how to become a hypnotherapist. So I thought, wow, this is it. This is what I need to do. So I did year one, year two, and took me a while. It took me a while to get into it. There was a lot of stop starting, mainly because I had my own issues to deal with.
Okay.
But it wasn't until much, much later, many, many years later, that I actually became what I class as a decent hypnotherapist.
Okay, cool. And since then, because obviously you said that was 2007-ish, right?
Hmm.
Since then, how has your understanding and approach to hypnotherapy and hypnosis evolved since then?
Oh, goodness gracious me. Well, it's evolved. It's evolved in many different ways, culturally, according to the current zeitgeist, and then according to my own personal definition of what hypnosis is. So
Mhm.
there's been a lot of people along the way that have guided my own beliefs. Carl Smith, I'm sure we've all heard of, you
Who?
know, but very was very influential. Steve Miller is another one, Terence Watts, Gary Turner, lots and lots of hypnotherapists and hypnotists, Mike Mandel,
Oh, yeah.
even Adam Cox as well. Most
Yeah, yeah.
recently, it all sort of altered my perceptions on what hypnosis actually is and what hypnosis actually isn't.
Yeah.
Um, Ultimately, though, the skills that I've developed in myself, for myself along the way, I've actually learned how to use on myself. Self hypnosis now is one of a wonderful tool, many wonderful tools that I use on myself to process my own trauma, because we've all got traumas, we've all got issues that we need resolving. And with the help of other teachers along the way, I've removed a lot of issues, which I'm very grateful for. And I wouldn't have been able to do any of that without that knowledge and skill, the skill set to be able to navigate the map. So yeah, I'm just very grateful for those trainers because they've helped mold me along the way.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that because, since I've been doing that, a lot of the people that you mentioned I've trained with as well. And a lot of the people that you've mentioned do just give you that little snippet so you can make it your own, and it's really, really cool and it's an interesting journey for many. So thank you for sharing that. So into the nitty gritty now. You're presenting at the nitty gritty. You are
You know
you
where
are
that comes from? Do you know where that comes from?
no, tell me, go on.
Well, I won't tell you. I'll let you Google it because
Okay.
it's a bit it's all to do with the captains and the sailors from many many years ago on the sailing ships. But I'll let you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I am interested in etymology, so I'm going to, right?
Oh, okay. Brilliant.
And I'll text you afterwards and go, why did I say that? So probably. But yeah, so let's into the content. So you're obviously presenting at the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference with us in Dublin, and we're really looking forward to having you there. So my question now is, why should attendees, people who are coming to the conference, why should they come and see you? What is your presentation all about?
Well, from the moment I stepped off the plane to the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference last year, the first thing you notice when you're walking through the airport are gigantic pictures of Katie Taylor,
Yeah.
the Irish world champion, Muhammad Ali, when he came to Ireland. Um, I've only got to mention people like Steve Collins,
Mm.
world champion. For me, Ireland is, one of the biggest homes of boxing in the whole wide world. To be able to speak there is an absolute honor. Boxing has a very, very rich heritage in Ireland,
Yeah.
and well, it's almost an archetype in itself, really. So what I will bring is something a little bit different. So anybody that's working with, and I understand it's a niche area, MMA fighters or boxers will be treated to a rather unusual talk on how hypnosis and boxing actually have a very, very close relationship, one that dates back over 100 years.
Okay.
And according to some of the people, one person in particular, a doctor, a scientist, Ukrainian scientist, a Dr. Malstev Oleg, who studied hypnosis and boxing for over 30 years. It would seem that he's uncovered, and I'm only speaking about what he's discovered,
Hmm.
that actually hypnosis, in the very literal meaning of the biological word sleep,
Hmm.
is literally what happens to a fighter in the ring when they're losing. So I won't spoil it. However, it's a very unusual subject which has a lot of studies that were done by a very interesting character who was a hypnotist and also a psychologist from the Soviet Union many, many years ago called Vladimir Bekhterev. And his
Okay.
studies into the freeze response in animals would reveal that we also have a freeze response in human beings, which is very, very similar to the literal interpretation of sleep. So I'm
Okay.
not going to spoil it, but I'm just going to give you
No.
a few clues as to what I'm going to be talking about.
No, and that's cool because the you mentioned that it's a niche area, but it is a growing area because there's quite a lot. Even you mentioned there's the likes of guys up here. I live just outside Belfast, so there's the likes of
Mm.
Carl Frampton, there's the likes of Barry McGuigan,
Mm.
all that lot. They're about, and there are more and more MMA gyms and more boxing gyms floating about the place. So it's interesting that we can learn from you the historical side of things, how that correlation approaches, and how maybe for us we can find a new way of helping more people, you know. And I suppose,
Yeah,
is that a takeaway that you would have from your
yeah,
presentation?
yeah. Boxing and MMA is life-threatening, so
Yeah.
it's a real danger that you can be hurt or worse. So, as a boxing hypnotist, the main motivation in doing what I do is to help the fighter so that dot 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 your favorite bit they don't get hurt or worse. So it's all about boxnosis is all about keeping the fighter safe. And I won't tell you exactly how I do that, but it's a very simple and unique method, incorporating various archetypes and mindset switches that will help the fighter in the ring so that they don't get seriously hurt.
Yeah. And I was on your website just before we spoke. I told you this, and there was a headline on it. Is it hypnotize your opponent? Um, there was that, and I just thought, oh, interesting. I for one, am really looking forward to your presentation because I've worked with, personally in my own practice, I've worked with certain forms of elite sports people, and realistically, the approach is similar, I'm sure, but whenever like I'm talking racing drivers, golfers, that type of stuff, but you know with what you're talking about, it is, as you rightly say a minute ago, life threatening in many cases, and then obviously the amygdala is on huge response, that fight, flight, freeze. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. So the main takeaway you would have for people, if you were to sum it up in one sentence, I know you've said a few things, but if you were to sentence it or sum it up in one sentence, what would you say people will gain from your presentation overall?
It's to keep the client safe.
Okay, cool. It's a good message. Good message.
Mm,
Yeah. Okay.
mm.
Alrighty. Well, listen, thank you for that. And I would encourage people to go along and see you. Obviously, I know there's a lot of people presenting, but from what you've said to me today, I for one will be at your presentation. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you.
So, in summary, what would you say to people who were thinking about attending the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference? Obviously, you attended last year. What would you say to people that would maybe who were maybe in two minds as to whether to come? What would you say is an overriding reason for people to come and see people like yourself?
Well, for me, last year, well, this year, just April
Oh
just
yeah,
gone, it
yeah.
was my first conference ever, and the crack was amazing. No
The
egos.
fun crack, you mean, obviously?
The fun crack was amazing. Everybody was no egos. It was just everybody just had the same intention to learn, to meet new people, to have fun, and to come away with something special, which is definitely what I did. So that's why you should come to the Irish Hypnotherapy
Yeah.
Conference.
No, I definitely agree with that. There's a lot of things that from my first, I was there at the very first one, and it was one of those things when I went along, I remember coming away with just an incredible sense of confidence just through the roof, because you'd learned new things, you'd met new people, and you weren't on your own anymore. It was cool. So,
And
but yeah, so look, I'm looking forward to seeing you again, in Dublin. And thank you for your time today. And I would encourage everyone to go and see Mathew at the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference. And thank you for your time, sir.
thank you for your time.
See you soon.
See you soon.
Bye bye.
Bye.